Hello everyone. Prasanna, I am audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Thanks. Hello everyone and welcome all of you on behalf of TAFTA Chamber of Business and Industry. Myself CA Rajesh Agarwal and I will be the moderator of the session. First, I want to say a few words about TAFTA Chamber of Business and Industry. The TAFTA Chamber has been providing networking platform for the business and industry. The activities of the chamber primarily include providing relevant platform to the industry to present their concerns to the appropriate authorities, to meet periodically with the various relevant departments, government officials, policy makers, financial institutions, and for review and derive constructive measures to achieve the goal. Friends, today's topic of discussion is alternative lending options to manage outstanding receivables so that orders can be fulfilled. Next, we would love to hear from you during today's presentation. If you have questions, please feel free to send it through the Ask a Question tab Q&A at the bottom. We will be answering the questions at the end of the session. If we don't get to your questions during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterwards. Now, I am pleased to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Prasanna Madhyastha. Prasanna is a strategic leader with 20 plus years of experience in the banking sector. He worked across ABN AMRO, Citibank, ICICI Bank, spearheading the functions of commercial banking, corporate banking, branch operations, branch management, and build relationships across large corporates, MNC, and mid-market clients. With this rich experience, he joined kredx senior management team and had the enterprise business for India since 2016. Through kredx, Mr. Prasanna aims to create a customized, holistic cash flow ecosystem by helping the CFOs of today in managing their organization's payable, receivables, and other financing needs seamlessly through the use of cutting-edge technology. I want to throw some light on kredx also. kredx has been featured among the top 100 leading global fintech innovators in the KPMG H2 Ventures 2017 Fintech 100 list, the top 50 ventures in the Smart CEO Startup 50 India 2016 program, and Sutra HR's top 100 startups to watch in 2017, and many more. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Prasanna Madhyastha. Prasanna, over to you.
Yes, so very great evening to all of you. Welcome to this webinar. Thanks for introducing me, sir. So I would like to take over from here. I definitely had a few points to talk about before we getting into the presentation. So let me start with showcasing the presentation at this moment, so that we get into the discussion once we go through the journey of what we have done so far, and what is happening today in the current crisis, and what should be the business going forward, how one has to look at coming out of the current crisis and still perceiving the growth trajectory what one had envisaged pre-COVID for the FY 2021. So I'm give me a minute for me to host the presentation, please. Yes. So this is a exclusive thought process which has been structured, designed by our team, specifically for audience and the people who are looking at as an opportunity to grow. So I would like to, throw some light on. I guess you guys have gone through multiple webinars. You are actively watching, the digital media and channels where, and of course, you guys are running your own businesses in the market and trying to think how do we get back. So everyone is talking about business 2.0, revival, a new version of business to be hit back. Uh, I guess everyone is thinking from a point of view that how we can come back to the business where we left it in the February. And that's something, everyone's, it's going on in everyone's mind, and people sitting at home, they're all busy in discussing through video conferencing and telephonic calls, strategizing and re-strategizing. But then I thought of putting my thoughts here before getting into what we can offer is that I am in this organization as a head of enterprise business so far in 60 days, spoken to at least around 250 large corporates. And trust me, everyone is in the same thought process that how do we get back to business? So, of course, there are different thought processes going on that whether all businesses will flourish or whether certain sectors will immediately come back. Certain sectors would take time, and certain sectors would take longer time than perceived or anticipated. So there are certain understandings that companies who are into travel and tourism, entertainment, automobile, there would be a longer time for they coming back to businesses. People who are into digital media, FMCG, e-commerce business, and essential commodities are seeing something where they can come back to the business as quickly as possible. And of course, there are large format stores, textiles, textile and pharma. These are some things which are more essential in nature, which we see that business would resume once the lockdown ends. However, there are also government measures which has been taken to revive the economy monetarily, business wise. And I guess you guys are watching on a daily basis where Prime Minister and Finance Minister are trying to give some soaps to the businesses, and how far it is going to get implemented, when it will get implemented, that question is still a mark though. But we thought that we should discuss what we can offer, which is imperative to the offerings which currently government of India is looking at. And of course, we are in aligned to that, and considering that this economy should grow is what we are going to offer something today in this webinar. So impact of COVID, I guess everyone has gone through this. I would like to go to the next slide, saying that what is the financial implication of the pandemic. So there are global talks saying loan disbursal is set to become more conservative, negative impact on the microeconomic output. But the ground reality is that even though there are measures being taken, how far the measures are effective, how good it can be implemented. I was actually in another webinar where one was talking about so much of benefits are being given by RBI. Liquidity is getting released by ratios being changed. Why are banks not lending? Why are banks not started lending? But I guess that everyone has their own battles to battle with. Being a bank which at a larger exposure, having a bigger portfolio, they have their own vested interest to look at managing the existing portfolio before discussing and strategizing how do we come back and start supporting the economy. So these are few discussions happening in the drawing board and the war room of larger financial institutions today. Of course, yes, you will see some of the initiatives going to come from them in the near future. So pressing need of capital. So I have a few points which I have noted down along with this presentation. What is that one thing which a promoter today is looking at is that can I for once ignore this 3 months or erase this 3 months from my mindset, from my business, and from my past, and can I say that now we ended in February, can I bring it back in June? So this is where everyone's mindset is going on. So smooth business continuity, catering to varying demand. So when I say catering to varying demand, you will now start seeing that some, lot of inquiries coming into you for your kind of expertise, what you are trying to in the industry, whether it is goods, you are a goods service provider or a service provider, where you see that there are some random inquiries which are one time in nature. There are some regular inquiries. You have your own old set of customers. Now you need to be figure out, which one is right for me at this point of time. Let us not forget that, even though the lockdown eases out and business slowly is looking at coming back to normalcy, there are few questions raised by international communities that there can be a relapse. So one thing and one foremost thing is that risk. Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, it's audible.
Okay, I just saw some disturbances, so I thought I lost something. So I guess my presentation is visible. I'll just continue where I stopped. What I'm trying to say is that mitigating risk, the business risk, the continuity risk is something which is very critical for businesses to look forward from now onward, because these pandemic can relapse and something new can happen. So managing risk at this point of time is crucial when you are looking at growth. Ensuring long-term survival is something like a BCP. You need to have a business continuity plan, which most of the people at a smaller level would have not thought till now. You should look at a capital which should support you in the BCP. You should look at, what is that bare minimum which I can do despite, there being a slowdown in the business. So these kind of choosing the business, choosing the orders are critical. Like for example, a lot of businesses suddenly the
Prasanna,
moment.
sorry to interrupt. Your presentation is not visible.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure why. What happened? Um, Give me a minute, please.
Sure, sure.
Just logged out and re-logged in. That's where the problem is. Is it visible now?
Yes, Prasanna, it's visible now.
Okay, great. So I was here. So what I'm trying to say is that a lot of businesses quickly shifted their focus from overall business approach to an essential business approach during the lockdown. And we could see a lot of inquiries coming out where people will shift their business to supplying masks, PPEs, pharma products, especially the traders. And we supported them during this pandemic crisis too, so that this was essentials, and we know that cash flow is going to come in the future during for these essential businesses. So these kind of quick decision making to keep the business minimal, less riskier, and continue is very crucial for one to realize from to how we can manage this if in case if this happens in future. Next is of course one of the biggest question which the pandemic has taught us to dwell upon is that there are two types of capital one would require to run the business, which is growth capital and a working capital. Of course, I just want to say a few lines on this. Growth capital is specifically one which is for a long-term point of view, business expansion point of view, and capex point of view. And working capital is what you require for day-to-day business, managing your debtors and creditors, supply chain, and continuity of business. So here, what we are trying to say is that are we well equipped? Do we have well thought process to see whether there is a continuity of working capital and a growth capital? That is one question I would like to raise at this point of time, so that we have answers when we end this. So when we have dwelled and discussed so much on what is happening today and what kind of capital is required for us to move forward, today what is the avenues available is something which one has to think. And in that I would like to say, apart from the financial institutions where we have banks and NBFCs to look forward with their own set of criteria, which today regulators and government is trying to relax. There is also a lot of alternate lending avenues or alternate working capital avenues available in the market, and that is something one should look forward. And for the main reason, like it's easy way to access, it's quicker and hassle free. It has less of bureaucracy and red tapeism, and of course these comes with the digital and online presence, because this is taught us that in today's pandemic, more which is physical is always difficult to access. So digital is something where right from inquiring to uploading documents to sanction and onboarding, if everything can happen digital, why should I physically be present somewhere to knock the doors to get my due liquidity, to get the due working capital limits for the liquidity which I want and which will help me in the growth of the business. So this is what we will be discussing. So now onwards, I would like to say something about kredx and what we do in kredx. So kredx is basically a 2015 founded company. It is India's leading integrated cash flow solution provider for enterprises and suppliers who are into supplying of goods and services, and who have good amount of liquidity need for them to secure and safeguard their business continuity